For the 11th time in Tom Izzo's career, yeah, that's right, your Michigan State basketball Spartans heading to the Elite Eight after certainly an A game from your Spartans.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On Spartans. It's your team in green and white 5 days a week right here in the Locked On Podcast Network. Please rate, review, subscribe, comment below your MVP for this game. Could be Jase, could be Coen. They both played outstanding in this win against Ole Miss, because that's where we're going to start before, we just touch on a little bit of this Auburn matchup this Sunday. But first, please rate, review, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. We are joined by friend of the program, Graham Nelson. And Graham, God, as a podcast host, I really wish I was better at this. And by that, I mean, when it gets stressful, when it gets tight in late games, I kind of just sort of black out a little bit. And all of a sudden the game ends. I'm like, oh, great, we won. Awesome. Way to go, guys. I remember the Coen Carr dunk. I remember the free throws from Jase, from Trey. But everything other than that was a blur. But luckily, as I'm watching Michigan take a 9-point lead and then melt down against Auburn, I am taking some notes. I am recounting what happened tonight. They attacked the rim. They played so well in that second half. They tightened up defensively when really it seemed like it was another inevitable, oh great, Chris Beard has a white guy that's going to make every single thing. No, it actually turned out well for us Michigan State Spartans. And let's just stick with the MVP conversation right now because, wow, Jase. Okay, nice little bounce back game for you right there. Just a casual 20 points. 4 of 6 from three-point land. Those 4 shots barely even hit the net. They were straight down to the bottom. It's Jase Richardson who's your clear-cut MVP for tonight, right? Or am I just missing the mark completely here, Graham? Shoot me straight.
You will hear no argument from me on that. I do everything possible to I don't know what it is, but to push Jase Richardson converse. Maybe it's just subconsciously or consciously, I want him to stick around. So I try to I'm going to be the guy who talks bad about him. But he was awesome tonight. And I think to me, one of the biggest things is clearly the secret's out. He gets the ball going to his left.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you're toast. So teams are now guarding against that. Last game, he didn't have an answer for it. Tonight, he had an answer for it, right? He started weaving. They started bringing him across to the other side. They started bringing him off curls going left to right instead of right to left. He just adjusted really, really, really well. And, God, was that fun to watch, man. It was so fun.
Fun, you know what? Okay, now that we're, about 3 hours removed from that game, I guess fun is the F word that you could use to describe that game. I picked a different one. It's just one letter longer during that game because, God, talk about this team every single game, Graham, and I'm starting to get upset at myself, not at the team, because when will I learn? And I did this against New Mexico. I kind of did it sort of against Bryant where it's oh my God, they're down in the first half. Nothing is going right. The hell's going on with this team? And yeah, sure enough, of course, they found a way to win, Graham. I mean, that's just what they do here in East Lansing. When will I learn?
Yeah, man. And we talked about this I don't know. I was on a couple weeks ago or last week.
Yeah.
From the Big Ten tournament. We talked about this is their recipe. Got a little more dicey today.
3 times, yeah.
Than I would like.
Yeah.
But there still is just this sense of calm about these guys when they're going. They're still, you don't see anyone trying to take over. You don't see anyone really taking bad shots here and there. I mean, sure, it happens in a basketball game, but you don't see them press. They just they have this ability, and it's unlike anything I've ever seen, just to figure it out. It's so odd.
Yeah.
And being a fan, it's great. Yeah, they'll get down, but they're just kind of you can tell they're just kind of feeling it out, and they know that their defense for the most part is going to keep them in it. And then they feel it out. And they're this team that's just they're like an anaconda that just gets around your neck and it just gets tighter and tighter and tighter. And under that 4-minute mark, then you're just you could see end of the first half, Ole Miss got tired. Michigan State goes on the run. And the second half, Ole Miss got tired. Michigan State goes on a run. I don't know what it is, man. Like, it's not the numbers thing because they're playing the same amount of guys as other teams right now.
Right. I know.
I used to be able, we used to be able to say, hey, it was that. We could point to that. There's just some sort of weird will about these guys.
It's so silly and almost like so lazy to just chalk it up to like, oh, they just believe in themselves, you know? Like, but no, like they are experienced and they are, I guess it's contagious, right? And
Great
not
word.
in the way that you normally see in college sports, because it is much easier to fall in the contagious pattern of being up and then losing games late in the game. We've talked about it with, our Michigan State football Spartans at times. We've also talked about it in other programs too, like Nebraska football too is an example that we pulled out many times here on the show in years past. Like believe it or not, people, like I've played sports too. I've actually played on teams. And when you're in this season where like, whether it be high school baseball, whether it be your Division II beach volleyball, whether it be high level basketball, like these guys are playing, not myself, you can get into patterns where like, oh my God, you're just waiting for the shoe to drop. And oh boy, I know we're up 8 right now, but the first little thing that goes wrong, we're going to start just melting away. Like we've seen in years past here. It's the opposite. And that is so much harder to do. And that is a testament of the coaching staff, these kids. I mean, it's just an incredible win for Michigan State because I'm not kidding. It was 3 different times this game where I made peace saying, you know what? Great season.
Yep.
I know that we don't have our best tonight. Kind of a tough game for our guard, Trey Holloman, right now. I know it's not the most sterling game from Jackson Kohler right now, but you know what? Those 2 kids played great. This whole season was great. We came with no expectations. 3 separate times in my stool at Buffalo Wild Wings. I made peace with my basketball god, Graham, but that still wasn't enough for me to learn about this team, I guess. Yeah. God, they're incredible.
I did the same thing, man. Like kind of through in that second half run when they got up, I think they got up 9. Like Michigan State kind of punched back, and then I think they got it within like 3 or something like that, and then it went back up to 9. I was like, not our day.
Yeah.
And I kind of had a sentence in my head that was like, you know what, it's still a good season. And then I constantly thought, I'm like, no, it's not. There's still plenty of time. We've seen this before. Let's see what happens. And sure, all of a sudden, Fears makes an incredible defensive play. Coen Carr jumps from the 3-point line. Fears makes an unbelievable floater that we've been begging him to make.
Oh, God.
He also got fouled on that, by the way, and we just like, hey, we're just not going to call that, but whatever. And then, the guard stepped up and made free throws down the stretch, and I was like, okay,
cool.
That's it. Great job. Yeah.
Oh man, it's a gritty team. It's a grimy team, and we're gonna keep talking about this game, of course. But first, we need to talk everyone's ears off about FanDuel Sportsbook, guys. America's #1 sportsbook. In case you haven't heard, it is FanDuel because they're keeping it hot all March tournament long, guys. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories. Not a lot of those this year. And even cutting down the nets. Hopefully it's our Spartans on Sunday night. Now, guys, I got my eye on, that game on Sunday, 5:05. And you know me. Hey, if I got to see the other team win, I'm going to, put some money on them. So you're welcome. I'm going to put some money on Auburn. I would love to lose that bet. But hey, any way you want to bet, whether it's with your Spartans, against your Spartans, any way you got to do it with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long because, guys, you can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins for all you new customers out there. Again, guys, it's $200 when you win your first $5 bet for you first-time users. FanDuel.com. Get in on the action all tournament long. All right, let's drag him back out here. The one, the only Graham Nelson. And I just, oh man, Coen Carr. You know what? Sometimes on this show, it does happen. We do get things right occasionally. I know, maybe not the betting, especially this March Madness, but we did say this would be a big game for Coen Carr because of how he matched up. That was the big conversation topic in the whole week leading up is, do you switch up the starting lineup? Because sure, hey, you won 10 out of 11. Don't break a great thing for Michigan State. But also, it's winning time, and it is abundantly clear you don't need a 7-foot Pollock out there to start this game. You need athletes against these Ole Miss Rebels. They went to Coen Carr. All he did was just a ho-hum 15 points. I'm just going to give you guys 3 rebounds. And, oh, yeah, the dunk heard round the college basketball world, seismic enough to shift the momentum there. Man, oh man, did Coen Carr answer the call or what tonight, Graham?
Man, he was awesome. But I have a question for you. Did you look at the box score at the end of the game and go, did he have 15? Because I did.
When they did flash that on CBS at the very end, when they had 15, I was like, oh, that means like combined with who?
Yeah.
Surely that's not just him, but yeah.
I don't know why. And maybe it's just because we've come to expect it. But I was like, huh.
I know.
I had no idea.
All players too, when Coen Carr scores 2 points, it feels like 4 points. Like he had 15 tonight, and it felt like 7 or 8. But hey, I ain't gonna argue with the numbers, man. So
yeah. I mean,
it was bizarre though.
he was really. I take it back. I don't know how good he was tonight. I thought that he actually plays on the field. He only plays on the court. He only had 3 rebounds. Don't love that. But like I could be the only one, and maybe I'm just delusional, and maybe I'm just on something. I think there's more to give. I think there's more to give from that dude. And
you're March ready. You're March ready. Because you know, let's actually make it this conversation right now, Graham, because like we talked with Dave Klein, great Spartan basketball mind, and I agree with him wholeheartedly. Like if Michigan State didn't play their A game, they were not going to win this game. Graham, they were out rebounded tonight. Yep. Of all things, that's the 3rd time this whole season they've been out rebounding, and they did it against one of the worst rebounding teams they faced all season. Ole Miss didn't even try to offensive rebound this game. Yep. They were setting up the defense to limit Michigan State's transition, and they still lost the rebounding battle. You had guys not have great games. Again, do not take this as like I'm just dogging these kids. No, but we're going to actually break this down like adults here. Jackson Kohler, not his greatest game. Okay, 18 minutes, 0 points, 2 rebounds. Whenever he got the ball in the post, even in a mismatch, he just wanted to pass it out. Okay, fine. All right, great. Okay, fine. Trey Holloman, great lob to Jaden Akins. He almost threw that in the 17th row, and that led to a 9-point swing. He had a horrible game until the last 5 minutes. Like, you had some like average to straight up below average games from a lot of people. You played, what would you call this, Graham? Your C+ game? And you still win in the Sweet 16? Like,
yeah. I don't know. It's hard for me to give like a grade because defensively they're so good. They're so good defensively.
Fair.
And like, that's half the game. And so like, hey, I'm going to give you an A defensively. Offensively, in the second half, they were good. Good? Question mark.
They were enough.
Right? Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, if you give it a C+, a B-, but like I think if we went back and like rewatched the game, you'd be like, oh, I kind of get it. Like I see why this happened. And one thing that I thought was insane that Chris Beard did is in this first half, they were dominating, and he just inexplicably goes to his zone, and you're like, what are you doing? And that's when Michigan State went on that run.
Yes. I wonder if it was a thing, because I saw it all happen in front of me. I'm like, was the game plan when you guys go up 10, you immediately switch into zone? Like, I'm not trying to get in the brain of this great basketball mind, but like that seemed to be the magic number when they switched into the zone defense. It's like, I guess thank you.
It was a gift. It was a gift.
It was. Yeah.
But I mean, anyway, as far as like the game go, I don't know, man. Like I didn't sit there thinking like, oh my God, we're playing so poorly. I think a lot of it was forced, and I think it took us longer to figure it out than it normally does. So credit can go to Ole Miss, but once we figured it out, hey man, we're going to clear out a side and you're going to go.
Yeah.
Akins, Richardson, Holloman, you're going to go. Frankie, like all those guys, like when they got their opportunities, they went to the basket. We got them in foul trouble. We got to the line. We made our free throws, and they made some, and we finished at the hoop. Like, so I think I'm just remembering the second half, it was really good. The first half was ugly. The second half, like I thought they were really good.
That first half, like it's halftime, and I'm just staring around, like the little like watch group that I'm with. I'm like, how many good shots did Michigan take? How many easy shots did they take that half? 4, 5, and then in the second half, like they got Jase going to his left. I mean, they had to be creative in the way they did it, just like you said, a lot of wave action, especially. And I do have to give Dap too. It's kind of the anti Coen Carr, which like I don't want to make it sound like he had a bad game. Of course, he had a good game, but. for as like, I guess, quote unquote, quiet as Carr's 15 points were, no one had 5 louder points than Frankie Fiddler.
Right.
They had wanted the first half to like keep this game somewhat competitive. And then of course that incredibly tough finish in the second half. Like that was probably the loudest 5 points you could possibly get out of someone. So just like credit to Frankie Fiddler really quick for that one right there. But I just tale of two halves, man. It was crazy.
Yeah, not to go back on this. I feel bad that I'm almost like ragging on Coen Carr. Like he still was good. There's just some things like when I don't know, we all do this. I think it's our brains that they just function to see like negative things. And like, when I close my eyes and like picture the game, I think of like Coen Carr crosses his feet too much defensively, and sometimes he gets one-on-one dribbling. And like, that's all I can think about. And I don't know what it is. Like, it's
because you're a good Michigan State fan that is ready for March. You expect greatness, Graham. That's what it is. I see it. I
guess so. I feel bad. I just want to give the guy a hug and tell him I'm sorry. I'm not ripping on you. You played great. Go do it again on Sunday.
God, that dunk was so cool at the end. How about that for hard-hitting analysis? How cool is it? No, he's taken off from the third line on the free throw little area there. And, like, it got to the point where, like, he was halfway in the air, and I was saying to myself, even in that split second, like, don't do it too hard. Like, do not do the thing where you Vince Carter this, and it goes off the back iron and goes out of bounds on the other baseline. Please just a nice little gentle one wouldn't hurt anyone, but that's Coen effing Carr. Of course, he's going to try to break the rim.
I had the same thought, that's just on us. You know what I mean? That's just us. Mm-hmm. It has nothing to do with him. We're just maniacs. So yeah, dude, back to that point of how far it took off, the pictures that have come out of that of him. Oh, art.
I gotta get him signed. I do. My man cave, this little studio here needs a little spruce up. I'm gonna need some signed photos from this team, because what a special, if I could talk correctly, what a special season this is. And hey, there's more to be done. Mission is not accomplished right now. They do have the toughest mission left in the tournament. They got the #1 overall seed, Auburn. And look, we're not going to flesh out a full breakdown right now. I'm going to hope to talk to someone on the Auburn side tomorrow for another episode here. But really quick, the story, the average age of this team is 33.3. These guys have been in college since 2017, seemingly. But yes, Janai Broome, Chad Bacon-Mazzara, Denver Jones, Miles Kennedy. Oh, yeah, that's right. They do actually have a freshman. Well, how good can Todd Pettiford be? Well, he just hits every single big shot that he takes. It's a tough team. We miss Michigan here. Let's just talk about it from a fan brain perspective, because we watched the game before we started recording. It was an odd thing, because I didn't think I would be in this position during the game, but I was just rooting for both teams, because it was truly a win-win. If Michigan wins, okay, on paper, that's an easier path to the Final Four. But if Auburn wins, okay, we don't have a civil war going on in this state. I could actually sleep tonight. And it's not like Auburn is unbeatable. Do I think Michigan State wins this game? Guys, it's a really good Auburn team, but I think they are gettable. I mean, it's just do you have any quick takes on this Auburn game, or missing Michigan or anything like that?
Let's start with, the Michigan thing is dead in the water. I don't have to think about it anymore.
Which is kind of nice. It's kind of nice. And it's not like we were scared, because, look, I know it's hard to beat a team 3 times. It's actually more statistically probable to beat that team a third time that you've already beaten twice than it's not, especially when you've already beaten them by double digits both times. I was going to save that for the preview should we have played Michigan, but that is actually a true stat when you break it down. But still, didn't need that in my life.
Yeah.
Did not need that in my life.
That's a thing, man, because then it just becomes it's not about the players anymore. It's not about the coaches anymore. It's about us.
Correct.
Yerks.
Correct. And who needs
me how I am with this stuff. By no means am I above it at all. I'm not acting above it, but I can get, it just drives me insane, right? Because it's just dumb and pointless, and it goes back and forth. And again, not that I'm above it. I am part of the problem here. Hand up. I want to be very clear on that.
Sure.
So I'm just glad that doesn't have to happen. So we can just okay, let's focus on the game. In terms of Auburn, my God, if they can come out and play a full 40 minutes the way they did 30 minutes against Michigan, I will be a very, very happy person.
We'd be up by 20 going into the last 10 minutes. Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I saw it, or I tweeted out or X'd out. How do you say that now? Sent out an
I
X?
go with tweeted just because it's burned into my brain.
Yeah.
So
Well, I tweeted out that, like, right before they went on that run, they literally looked like they didn't want to be there. Like, they're like, literally, they were like,
I read that tweet and I agreed wholeheartedly too. It's like body language was not present.
Yeah. A friend of mine that I work with, he's a huge Auburn fan and all this stuff. And he texted me, like, as I was tweeting that out, he's like, "This is done." He's like, "I've seen this before so many times. Like, this team doesn't want he said, "This is when they quit." And I'm like, and that's a guy who watches every game. You know, he's crazy about Auburn the way we are about, you know, Michigan State. And so, I had started to accept the fact that we were going to have, you know, however many hours, 36 hours of just like torture chamber of living in that. But now we get to go face a team that's really talented. Bruce Pearl doesn't scare me at all.
Okay.
X's and O's point. Their players scare me because they're really, really good.
Jedi Broom's an automatic 2 points every time he gets the ball down low.
Yeah. Yeah. he's so good. I'm interested in how we're going to defend that. You know, Izzo's been, for years and years, we've seen him say, "Hey, we'll give up the 2 to, to save the 3." And like, I'm interested if that's how they're going to defend him. I think we'll see Zimone again because they've got the 2 bigs that they play.
Yep.
I don't know though. It could be. It just scares me just with their 2 bigs to have a lot of minutes of our 2 bigs like together. We want Coen Carr on the floor, but do we want to take off Kohler or one of the centers for it, or do we want to take off Jaden Akins for it? Like, I would prefer it to be one of the bigs. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah, especially late in this game here tonight, just to like bring it back to this game against Ole Miss. Like, I'm watching the game. It's like you got to have a lineup with Jase and Akins on the court at the same time right now. And I know that has been the case the entire season, especially with how up and down Akins is. But like, that is your best offensive option there. But it is going to be a different look against Auburn. Just like you said, like they do deploy 2 centers. I mean, Ole Miss deployed essentially none. I know Malik Dia was, essentially their 5, but he played more of a forward style basketball. So it is going to be an interesting, I guess, flip-flop here of playing styles between Ole Miss and Auburn. But it's going to be tough right now. BarTorvik.com has Auburn winning 76-70, but hey, upsets have to happen in March eventually, right? I mean, and what better guy to do it than Tom Izzo, a guy that's incredible in his second game of a weekend? I mean, I know it's not like an analytical way of breaking it down, but the proof is in the pudding right there in his 30 years at the helm. I mean, it kind of is.
It is an analytical way of thinking about, like, I mean, we'd have to look up the records, but his records on second day of the weekend is really, really, really good. Mm-hmm. Like, it just is. And I know they've already got a game plan in for what they're going to do. I'm interested to see what it was, and excited to watch the game. I do have 2 questions for you.
I got 2 answers, I hope.
Number 1, I don't know if this is a question more so of a leading the witness here.
Okay, try me.
But how much better does more comfortable does Jaden Akins look not having to be the star?
Sensationally more. I think he missed his first shot tonight, and like, not to bring it back to like my little watch group that I had at B-dubs, but like after the first shot, we had this weird thing. Even though he missed it, we all looked at each other. It's like, hey, it looked good.
Yeah,
the shot at least looked good. It hit the inside part of the rim.
Yeah,
which you couldn't say that about his. But yeah, like he does look a little more comfortable. I do like that, Graham.
Yeah. I'm just he's. Like, you think back to sophomore year Jaden Akins, who was almost a 3rd or 4th fiddle on that team, but like arguably was the second best player. Really
explosive, yeah.
And I think he's just kind of back to that. He's very, very comfortable. He's very aggressive, but also selective in the shots that he's taking.
Yeah,
smart. I've been thrilled with the tournament that he's had so far. Second question. I don't know if you had more to talk about, so we can jump back to your question.
No. I was going to try to land this plane actually here and get.
Great. I'll land it for you then. during the FanDuel ad that you read, I got to thinking about wondering if that Ole Miss shot at the buzzer impacted your bank account at all, and if so, how did it affect it?
Everyone turn this off if you're a Michigan State fan here, because I do a sick little thing. It's called hedge my happiness. Like if I got to watch the other team win, I want to be financially on the right side of things here. So I was staked with many units on Ole Miss plus 3.5. So when that thudded on the back iron and then just rolled into the hoop, so that's not the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Everything's coming up, Matt, right now in the last 5 minutes here. So good question, Graham. Get your action done. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book.
So I asked that question basically just so I could tell people this, right? Like ask you a question and really I just want to be the one who's talking.
Sure. I'm sorry.
Is because I think everyone already knew the answer to that if they've listened to
anyone that knows me know that I bet against Michigan State because and I want to lose these bets. Let's make it very clear about it.
Yes,
I want to lose all these
bets
anyway.
We get it.
Okay.
So I bet on Michigan State, and when he hit that shot, I was like, I was ecstatic that they won, super happy. But then all of a sudden, I had this over me. It's like, shoot, sorry.
I'm going to call FanDuel customer service right now and tell them I showed my work. Like I should win that game.
So I logged in and realized, and I totally forgotten I had bought the half point. So I pushed.
Oh, well, Graham, great financial sense, my man. There we go.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So everything's coming up you. Okay.
And I can probably, if you went back and everyone's got like a group of gambling buddies that they chat with, right? Everybody.
No, come on.
And I can there's probably 30 times throughout the college basketball season, I'd be like, got hooked. Can't believe I didn't buy the half point. Got hooked. I didn't buy the half point. Mm-hmm. Gosh darn it. I learned my lesson and I did it. So it was,
gross.
Things couldn't be better, Things couldn't be better.
Everything's truly coming up Graham right now. Everything's coming up us. And I will end it with this. And I called my dad right after the game, talking to my buddies on the way out. It's like, how blessed are we to be Michigan State fans right now? Because especially, even after all these phone calls, after this Michigan-Auburn game, like the stat shows up, like Auburn headed to their third Elite Eight in program history. It's like, damn, we're heading to our 11th under Tom Izzo right now. And I know it feels like it's been forever. It's been 6 years, but guys, we are incredibly fortunate to be Michigan State basketball fans. It is awesome to be a fan of a blue blood school that can expect this more often than a lot of other schools. So I just wanted to end it right there. What a fantastic run from this coaching staff, from these players. I mean, it's awesome being a Spartan, man.
Yeah. Honestly, dude, I don't know any of these kids. I don't know Tom Izzo. I don't know anyone on the staff. If I could shake their hand and tell them thank you for just how hard they've worked and they've brought a lot of joy to a lot of people, and I hope they keep doing it. So
I'm a better person when Michigan State wins basketball games, and I've learned that about myself the last few months.
The world is.
It kind of is, Guys, that's Graham Nelson over there. Just fantastic work, not just on the show, but also baseball coaching too over at local JV team over there. All right, guys, we will be back again. We're going to try to get on this show here in a little bit. Thanks for dealing with my fuzzy-ish camera. Right before recording, realized that my camera has broken, so I had to go with the old 4-pixel webcam on the laptop here, but we're going to try to fix that up. Visit a nice little electronics store tomorrow on this beautiful Saturday. But until then, guys, hey, take care of yourselves. Love you all. Go Green.